represent Robert Hodges' desire to recluse himself in this meeting. I do now present to you the people petitioning this board. Will give you the option. You can basically, we can suspend it and you can reapply once these other issues have been resolved, or you can basically cast your fate to us right now. Whatever the decision will be final, and you will not be able to reappeal it for 1 full year.
Dr. McCarthy, I think the first option is the option my clients would like to accept. You're giving us basically the opportunity to withdraw without prejudice at this time, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And we can reapply when this matter is resolved, is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Correct.
And it might be done real soon, and as soon as it's done, you can reapply for consideration.
Okay, we will withdraw pursuant to that opportunity, and thank you for giving us the option, Dr. McCarthy.
I'm very sorry that it's come down this way, but this is what's happening.
And we can push reapply now.
Oh, yes, sir. That's correct.
Such is the life of a consulting engineer.
That's right. I hate putting my suit on. Have a good night. Good luck.
Good evening.
Hey.
See you. I'll bring my seat.
We're calling the meeting back to order, please. The council has another public hearing to consider. This is legislation known as Bill number 2013-04 regarding amendments to the zoning ordinance regarding floodplain regulations. So, Mr. Massey, would you read this legislation into the record?
Bill number 2013-04, an act to amend the Cecil County zoning ordinance, Article 11, Part 3, floodplain district, introduced and order posted May 7, 2013, public hearing scheduled on June 4, 2013 at 7 p.m. Scheduled for consideration June 18, 2013.
Okay. Mr. Centrum, do you have a synopsis of this legislation, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Very briefly, the county has in its zoning ordinance a floodplain ordinance. We are required to have that floodplain ordinance by the state and by the federal government in order to allow citizens of Cecil County who reside in a floodplain to avail themselves of the federal flood insurance program. Periodically over the years, amendments have been done to the state model ordinance upon which the county's local ordinance is based. Most recently, the state has gone through that exercise and notified the county that certain changes to our local ordinance need to be made in order for us to remain consistent with the state ordinance. Additionally, a new flood insurance study has been completed by the federal government, which will take effect July 8th. In conjunction with that, there are new flood insurance rate maps or firm maps that have also been prepared for the entirety of the county. Those will also go into effect on July 8th of this year. The state has notified us that they would like the changes made to our ordinance to prior to that date, and that the associated flood insurance rate maps would be adopted as part of that amendment process to the text of the ordinance. This has been before the Planning Commission at their April meeting. The Planning Commission has forwarded a recommendation of approval to the County Council.
Are there any questions by the council members regarding this legislation? Just for the record, we had a work session earlier today that we went into a lot more detail. We asked a lot of questions, and basically this is another mandate that we update our ordinance to comply with federal and state requirements. So, hearing no further questions,
the floodplain maps, if you're in the floodplain, you would be required to purchase insurance through the federal government. And it is in everyone's best interest, if you live near a floodplain, that you check to see if you're now in the floodplain, because these maps do change.
okay, we will continue to consider this legislation, and then it's subject to a vote on June 18th. Is there no other questions, right?
There was a process that was described to us that if you're in the floodplain and you want to dispute it, there is a process that you can go through.
I'm sorry, this is a public hearing, so we will allow anyone in the audience to speak for or against this resolution, or bill. I'm sorry, this is a bill. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak for or against this resolution?
How about clarification?
Not a question and answer, Joe.
Well, I'm not asked, it doesn't matter.
State your name and address, please.
Joe Caravetta, 1611 Carpenter's Point. Just on the floodplain, this is clarification. You are not required to buy flood insurance. Only your bank may require you if you have a mortgage, but you're not required. Now, you're at your own peril if you do that, given what's been going on with the weather here lately. But you're not required to do that, only if you have a mortgage with the bank to manage your so. But you can opt out, not have flood.
Okay, thank you. Is there someone else in the back that would like to speak?
Basically, that was the question I had. Is it a mandatory requirement?
Okay.
Let me, Eric, commercial insurance companies, if you're in a floodplain, can you purchase insurance through them?
No, you go through the federal government.
Okay, that's what the clarification is. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Alreasin, 632 Conowingo Road, Conowingo. This morning it was mentioned when this information would be available. I don't remember exactly. If someone does, maybe they put it out to the audience when they can review the map to see if it's applicable to their property.
When are the maps going to be available?
The maps will become effective on July 8th of this year, so anybody who wishes to peruse those maps and see whether or not their property is affected by a floodplain can do so after that date. They are not effective right now, so they are not valid at this point.
Okay, that concludes the public hearing section of this legislation. And again, we will consider this on June 18th, 13. The next item on our agenda is approval of the meeting minutes for May 21st for our legislative session. We've all been provided a copy of the meeting minutes. Is there any additions or corrections to the meeting minutes? And I think we were all given a revised copy that's corrected for things that we taught this morning. Did you get the revised copy?
I did get a revised copy, and I just wanted to confirm one of the key items was on page 12, that, the amendment number 5, the 12,000 as of July 1st, 2013, not 2014, and it has been changed. Thank you.
So may I have a motion to approve the amended minutes?
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other further discussion? All those in, we need to do a roll call vote? No. Okay. All those in favor of the amended meeting minutes, approval of meeting minutes for May 21, 2013, say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to speak to any issue they like. We will have a time to no more than 5 minutes. If you haven't signed up, please do so now. Could someone get the, you have it? Okay. If you haven't signed up, please do so now. So, Mr. Massey, would you please read the first speaker?
Dean Jerusalem.
You're getting closer. Would you please repeat your name and where you live?
Sure. My name is Dean Gerasmus. I reside at 333 Walnut Drive in Chesapeake City, Maryland. I'm here today to give you a public comment about a zoning ordinance which somehow got passed, and I feel as though it was a big mistake by council that this even got through. I've made a large investment into this county, several millions of dollars, and have several centers, even spent extra money to make these centers look very appealing and matching the atmosphere here in Chesapeake City. It's been tough enough the last few years to keep these centers full with the economic conditions, but what I'm about to say really doesn't matter about economic conditions because this whole thing just doesn't make sense. The centers that I have a center in Chesapeake City called South Village. I have a center in Elkton called Alexander's Village, and I have a center in across from Cecil College called College Crossing. I recently tried to fill up the center. It's been quite empty the last couple of years. It's been a struggle. I finally had it to the full point. I had my last tenant going in, and I've been denied the opportunity to put a family doctor into my center. I find this absolutely appalling. This is happening, especially since a year and a half ago, I have another doctor in there, or a clinic in there, which is a physical therapy clinic, which I'm sure probably would have been under the same thing. So, to my dismay, zoning ordinance section 161, that number 1, that a doctor's office, clinic, dentist office, anything like that, cannot be put into a center that is 200 feet from a resident, okay? None of my centers, all of my centers are within 200 feet of a resident. I think you'll find that most centers are within 200 feet of residents within the town. Not a metropolitan area here. We all have private residences that are there. This has cost me money to go to the appeals board. Is that correct? The appeals board. Went through the appeals board, and I even heard rumor, well, anytime you go through the appeals board, because it's a doctor's office, you'll be okay. Didn't happen. Denied. Doesn't make sense, guys. Does not make sense. Here I am. I try to bring in proper businesses into the county. I go out of my way. We have swim schools. We have daycares. We have libraries. I have a dentist office in Chesapeake City. I've got a doctor's office in Chesapeake City, all within 50 feet, but I guess that was done before this time. And it's unfair. It's an unfair ruling. It doesn't make any sense. You're penalizing me. I'm trying desperately to add something to the community, and I'm getting caught up in the fact that I can't put a doc in the box. It's a doc in a box. If you're sick, you have a family doctor there. If you're not sick, and you get, you slide in the second base in Rising Sun, and you need stitches, you can go there and get it taken care of. And you're prohibiting me from having that opportunity to open up a simple family physician doctor in the center. And that's just wrong. I don't know how it got through. I don't know why it got through. It's wrong. Something needs to be done about it. I ask that as soon as possible we consider this and repeal this and think hard about it. I don't know what happened the first time, but you're penalizing people who are trying to make a difference. And unless somebody wants to pay the bank, the rents that we're missing out on, and I'm most likely possibly going to lose this potential family doctor, it's just not fair, guys. You're prohibiting us, and I don't think it's right. Thank you.
Thank you. We can call the next speaker, please.
Michael Dawson.
Michael Dawson, 713 Concord Point Drive, area. Good evening, Mr. President, council members. I rise this evening on behalf of Bill 2013-06, slated for introduction later this evening. This bill is an act to amend the public laws of Cecil County, Chapter 105, by restoring to the county the official seal that was in use following the erection of Cecil County on June 6, 1674. I thank Council President Dr. Alan McCarthy for sponsoring this draft legislation on my behalf. As an introduction to this legislation, I have provided a detailed chain of historical connection of Cecil County to Augustine Herman and the Calvert family. I don't want to belabor the details here, but I would like to instead read some concluding paragraphs of a paper that was presented by the Maryland Historical Society in 1885, following Maryland's return of its Great Seal, which you see right back there, to its proper place in Maryland state government. It's just brief, 2 paragraphs here. What was written is, the criticism may perhaps be upon the seal as now used, that a republic has no right to display the coronet proper of a county palatine. But it may be answered that this is not born as a symbol of authority or rank in the present, but a commemoration of the past and of a history which now extends over 2.5 centuries. Taken by itself, the history of the Great Seal is but a barren narrative, almost wholly comprised in a few public documents, a letter of commission, an order of the council. But from the time of the founding of the colony at St. Mary's under the proprietary government, every event that has disturbed the established order, whether it were a lawless outbreak of insurgency, an intervention of the commissions appointed by the Parliament or by governors, was accompanied and reflected by some corresponding change or incident relating to the Great Seal. An explanation of the latter necessarily involves a reference to the former. But by the final restoration of this ancient device, in our own times it is proclaimed that whatever the changes by which its political constitution has been affected, the identity of the Commonwealth has never been destroyed and continuity remains unbroken. Ladies and gentlemen, this draft legislation that I'm offering is not political, it's not partisan, but rather it is for the good of Cecil County. I thank you for your consideration and respectfully request your support of this bill. I'd also like to take a few minutes and this evening and take this opportunity to congratulate the young men and women of Cecil County's high schools who will be graduating on Thursday evening. I also want to thank the teachers of Cecil County who have faithfully and committed themselves to educating and nurturing responsible and respectable young adults. And if I'm going to take this opportunity to liberally put on my proud dad hat, I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate my son, Joseph Dawson, who just late this evening was informed that he has received the high honor of being named valedictorian for Perryville High School. Thank you very much.
speaker, please.
Jeff Doyle.
Good evening, my name is Jeff Doyle. I live at 28 Carpenters Point Road in Charlestown. I was going to speak at the one event that was rescheduled a little bit earlier, but I also came here tonight to speak about the decision to enter into some sort of settlement agreement with York Building Products over the zoning issue related to their desire to do mineral extraction along Carpenter's Point Road. I guess where I wanted to start was I'm not from Cecil County. I'm from New England originally, but I served over 20 years in the Marine Corps, both active duty and reserve. Last time I deployed in Afghanistan, I decided that I wanted to come home and settle down with my family somewhere and retire and start the second half of my life. At the time, I was a research ecologist for the USDA. I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life studying water and nutrient dynamics in agricultural ecosystems. But because of 9/11 and my deployment there to Afghanistan, things changed, and I sought out another job where I could stay focused on science and engineering, but still live in a rural area and be focused on my family. So I got a job with a large science and engineering firm in Harford County. I drove around there looking for a house. Any of the council members ever driven around on Route 924, any of the side connecting roads there, and seen the kind of congestion and poor planning, in my opinion, that happens in Harford County. Maybe I shouldn't ask you for an opinion on that, but I decided to come to Cecil County. And I've been here 7 years, and what attracted me to Carpenter's Point Road is the natural beauty that remains there. And I felt that the decision by the board originally to go with NAR, the Northern Agricultural NAR residential, was the right decision. And I feel that now a modern day robber baron has, in very deep pockets, is able to come in and essentially bludgeon the process. And I'm very disappointed in that. And I hope that the council will not take that settlement and will stick with the original former government's vision. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Cindy Witkowski.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Witkowski. I live at 121 Woodall Road in Perryville, which is right off of Carpenter's Point Road. I'm speaking tonight in regards to your number 18, the resolution number 572013 in the litigation settlement with York Building Products. I'm here representing the Carpenter's Point Group Against Mining that was formed in March 2011 in opposition to the proposed intent of York Building Products to surface mine parcel 122 along Carpenter's Point Road. On April 5th, 2011, 10 members of our group presented speeches to the commissioners that directly correlated to Cecil County zoning ordinance. We'd like each of you to have a binder containing these speeches. We hope that you will take time to review the binder to get a feel for what our group stands for and to have an understanding of the effect that York Building Products could have on that parcel. I would like to remind everyone that the group remains opposed to the mining of parcel 122. But tonight is not about the mining issue. Tonight is about whether the county should settle with York Building Products and allow the current NAR zoning to return to M2. I'd like to stress the following points. It is understood by all members of Carpenter's Point Group that the premise of the settlement is to avoid around $50,000 or more in legal fees. We feel that NAR zoning on parcel 122 is the best suitable zoning for Carpenter's Point area because it is the least invasive zoning for forest conservation and wetlands. Earlier this evening, Mr. Pugh, who is a York Building Products employee, discussed earlier this evening the importance of preserving the scenic byways along Route 213. This is exactly how we feel about parcel 122. We'd love to preserve the forest and the wetlands. Due to the close proximity to the bay, we are concerned about the effect that M2 zoning would have on the environment of the bay. The Chesapeake Bay Foundation is working with the states of Pennsylvania and New York to reduce the pollution that ends up in the bay. And we ask that you please consider these facts as you make your decision. The nearby town of Charlestown holds a lot of historic value to this area, which we feel should also be protected. And by putting some sort of industrial park or heavy industrial or mining in there, it would just degrade the historic value of Charlestown. And we would also like you to take into consideration the potential tax revenues of NAR versus M2. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of the Carpenters Point group against mining. We trust that you will base your decision on what is best for our county and the citizens of District 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Donna Cordell.
Donna Cordell, Elkton, Maryland. I'd like to address some of the issues that were mentioned this morning from Commissioner Vermel in regards to your building projects versus Cecil County. A judge might say you have legal authority to downzone, but the Constitution says you don't have the right to take property without compensation. It's a travesty that this ever happened, that the taxpayers had to spend money to defend the county in its effort to strip a business owner of property rights. Another issue that you had mentioned was about recusal. It seems that in this case, which is a constitutional violation of a property's owner rights, you are more beholden to the special interests of Kahlua, of which you are a founding member, and ARCA, than the Constitution of the United States that you swore to uphold. Members and officers of Kahlua were supportive of the downzoning that donated to your campaign. So if there needs to be recusal on one side, it needs to be done on both sides. You also mentioned to me about having hearings on different items that you would vote on. Unfortunately, when it came to this issue, your building products wasn't afforded that opportunity. The issue was about rezoning from M2 to MEA. However, your building products was blindsided when you motioned to downzone the property from M2 to NAR, and it was voted on that evening. Where was their due process and compensation? Restoring this property to its original zoning is a matter of righting a wrong that was committed by 3 commissioners of the previous board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Chip Hazel.
Hello, I'm Chip Hazel, as I think you already know. I speak against the resolution 57/2013. In 2007, my wife and I ended a 2-year search, and we bought a spot on Greenbank Road. We found some Amish folks to build our dream house, and we loved it. It's great. We've met some great folks. I spoke in 2011 that, among other things, the infrastructure was not prepared for the kind of industrial use that might be considered. I think one of the things that we really like about this area is the ride down Carpenter's Point Road. It's sort of a cool down from when you leave Route 40 and the hubbub. We really enjoy that last 10 minutes when we get to the spot that we really like. I'm going to read part of an email that I wrote this week. I've read the resolution. Clearly M2 was more attractive to York than NAR. Cecil County government seeks to save $30,000 to $50,000 by allowing the parcel to go back to M2. I wonder what the increased value to York is for M2 versus NAR. Seems to me it's a huge number. I'm not sure exactly why the cost of $30,000 to $45,000 is a justification to allow the zoning to be changed. I wonder, I don't know, I'm an engineer, not an attorney, is there a precedent for, I'm gonna call it horse trading, I'm not trying to offend anyone. Is there a precedent in the county for this kind of horse trading, so to speak? If there isn't, then this would be one, and it weakens county government when it does do a comprehensive rezoning, knowing that maybe one, maybe none, maybe 10 folks will come and try and do this kind of thing. I have no dislike for the folks at York. They have a business, they're successful, there's nothing wrong with it. If it is a precedent, then we don't want to set it. If it isn't a precedent, an action this large will only add to a new kind of flexibility, if you will, a new path in the event that a rezoning happens that the owners aren't happy with. I don't know if this is true or not. Back in 2011, I understood that York paid a very low price for the parcel, and that the taxes on the parcel are very low because of its nature of use, being that it's not used. If that's the case, and I were York Building Products, I would feel like I could afford to spend a good amount of money trying to get the zoning that would benefit the company. And so, if they paid a little bit for it and then they had to spend $100,000 to get the rezoning they needed, they'd still be in good shape. They wouldn't have overspent on that parcel. Here are some of the costs of this rezoning, and make no mistake about it, I think of this as a rezoning. Quality of life will change for the residents who live and recreate in our area. We have a lot of fun on the river. Made a lot of great friends. We see them on the water. We see them having a beer. It's not going to be the same. Another cost is the inconsistent land use that this would represent. It would no longer be driving down Carpenter's Point Road with woods on the right. It would be driving down Carpenter's Point Road with industry on the right. It wouldn't be that cool down that we enjoy on our way home. I believe that there's a safety issue or many safety issues that could occur when you mix collector traffic, residential collector road traffic with industrial traffic, which would be inevitable. Environmental impacts, all I have to say is the word the bay. It's within the bay drainage area. It's going to go to the bay. It's going to go there fast. Huge financial impacts for those of us who have spent to build the spots we really like there. So I ask again, let there be no mistake. This is a rezoning, right? That's really what's happening. If you look at what the county could save, I understand $50,000. It sounds to me like a very inexpensive rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Rita Reynolds.
Rita Reynolds. I noticed that there's a screen over here. If anybody can put this in, I have some photos towards the end of my speech. I'd appreciate it. You have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes to get that. My name is Rita Morgan Reynolds. I live at 163 Woodall Road. I am an operations research system analyst. Good evening, County Council. Councilmember Goldsby, Councilmember McCarthy, it's nice to meet you. Let me welcome you to civil service. In front of you, you received a packet. If you could humor me and please turn to the red tab. There were 10 speeches 2 years ago. Each one of those speeches were a specific topic to the zoning ordinance. Article 1, Section 3.3b, public participation. Article 1, Section 3.3k, stewardship. Article 1, Section 3.2A, economic development is encouraged. Article 1, Section 3.2B, to preserve the character and appearance of neighborhoods. Article 1, Section 3.3J, resource conservation and scenic areas are conserved. Article 1, Section 3.2B, and to maintain property values generally throughout the county. Article 1, Section 3.2D, to conserve natural resources. Article 1, Section 3.2N, to protect environmentally sensitive areas from unnecessary disturbances. Article 1, Section 3.3A, quality of life, sustainability, and the last, 7, Article 1, Section 3.31I, environmental protection. There were about 100 residents in attendance at the meetings. Many spoke, and over 234 signed the petition, which is all the way in the back of this packet. 234 people signed the petition. So that parcel 122 would be NAR. There's another side of the coin, because now it's on the table for this to be M2, which is heavy industrial. These are some of the possible uses for heavy industrial. Non-automotive fuel sales and storage, as you can see the photo, that's projected up on here. Concrete and asphalt batching plants, shown up on the photo. Salvage yard and burning of junk. Petroleum waste products, recycling facility. Hazard waste recycling. Hazard waste incineration facility. At this time, I would like you to turn to the purple tab. This is a Google map, picture of the area. Gorgeous, isn't it? Pristine forest. So the area that is between AB and Route 7, that huge green spot, that's parcel 122 and parcel 608. That's what everybody's been talking about. If you look in the upper left of that corner, do you see that kind of like round spot there by Pulaski Highway and Old West Philadelphia Road? That is the current sand and gravel processing facility. Big ugly hole there. If you follow that big ugly hole down Route 7 and on the other side of Route 7, that's mining. I know this isn't about mining tonight, but this is about M2 and whether or not it's going to go back to what it originally was. There's a few points that I would like to reiterate. The original designation of this parcel was forest recreational. In the 1960s, it was changed to heavy industrial for the sole purpose to build a nuclear power plant. I can understand how that could help the economic growth of the county. However, the designation was never reversed. Number 2, the comprehensive rezoning is revisited every 10 years. Back when I had spoke last, Mr. Session confirmed that each time the slate is wiped clean. Parcel 122 does not have to stay heavy industrial just because it was heavy industrial. Number 3, please keep in mind that our community has already taken a knee to support economic growth when the Seneca Water Treatment Plant was built. Now it looks like the citizens will have a financial burden as well. Number 4, you're hearing from the citizens, your active partners. We're veterans, 5 tours, you heard from him. Civil servants, we're doctors, we're civil engineers, we're research analysts, we're mediators, and we're lawyers. We have proposed NAR, we have done our research. We will be here when you vote on this settlement. I respectfully request that each one of you as you submit your vote, you tell us why you have voted that way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Ron Bovas.
Oh, did you guys want to see the pictures? Give me a minute or two. So if you can go forward on the pictures.
Already seen them.
So that's the non-automotive fuel sales and storage.
Rita, would you get somebody else to make the picture presentation? Find somebody else in the audience that's willing to do that.
Okay, Joe. Joe.
Well, it's not my turn.
You can just leave it up there so people can see.
Would the next speaker please come, Ron, finish Ron, and Rita, would you find somebody else to do the balance of your presentation?
Ron Locus, Elton, Maryland. Councilman Hodge, you've always encouraged us as citizens of Cecil County to participate in government and to attend the council meetings and the commissioners' meetings. About 2 weeks ago, I was here when the budget was being decided on, and I think a friend of mine, Donna, had talked to you about putting the vote on the budget off for another week. And you asked us to come here and attend and voice our concerns about this, and we did. These are all tax-paying citizens, people who contribute to the tax base, not those who take out of the tax base. And there were quite a few who came up and asked you to please put this vote off for one more week. And I stayed here for about 2 hours, and then I left. I had to get up early to go to work the next day. And I was pretty sure that the vote would wait for another week so we could review some of the things on the budget. And when I woke up the next morning and I found out that the budget was voted on, I felt like I was punched in the gut. You ever seen the movie Braveheart? William Wallace was going to fight Edward the Longshanks in England, and when he was losing the battle, he found out that he was deceived by Robert the Bruce. That's how I felt. I felt like I was just gut punched on this whole thing. And I know you had to do what you had to do. However, I felt like the decision was made ahead of time to vote on that budget that night, no matter what. And I do appreciate you getting back to me the next day by email and explaining that you too were disappointed that you had to vote on it that day. But many of you also expressed that we waited until the 11th hour. What do you mean by the 11th hour? I mean, did any of you watch the NFL football game last year when Denver played the Ravens? 30 seconds left in the game, in the playoffs. 30 seconds left. That's the 11th hour. What did they do? They threw a touchdown pass to Jacoby Jones. And they won the game. 2 games later, they're in the Super Bowl and we win. What does it mean by waiting until the 11th hour? It's okay to do that. We had an hour left. We had a whole week to go over this. And I know this doesn't change anything that I'm speaking about, but I'm hoping that next year we can look at the budget a little bit closer and change some of these things. I mean, I think that we had some reasonable requests. Again, we were the people who pay the taxes, yet we have people who collect the tax money, and they will parade their group up here, 10 or 15 of their people, and get your hearts and souls directed towards them, and they get what they want. $400,000, you gave $300,000 to the library. Let me ask you, with that extra $300,000, do you think they're able to increase the services to us over the next year? If they didn't get that $300,000, were they going to turn anybody away at the front door? Was anybody going to suffer if they didn't pay that $300,000? How about the school? And it sounds like I'm picking on these people, but I'm asking you to put these ideas through your mind when you vote, because I know how big in your position you become empathetic to the people who are asking for the money. But also, being a businessman, you have to look at the results of your investment. What is the investment on sending kids to camp? What is the immediate investment over the next year? Is it really worth it? Do they need another, I don't know, $200,000 to send kids to camp? I love our education system in Cecil County. I think Dr. Devine does a fantastic job with the Cecil County schools. But every department head should have their feet held to the fire, and some of them should get more money. I'm not picking on all departments. What I'm saying is, please, review. If it's the 11th hour, it doesn't matter. Review and try to take the advice and the concerns of the budget committee when they come before you. Spend time with them. This is our money, and we believe in you. We supported many of you up there who are now our councilmen. So please work with us on this and listen to us. We support you. It's our money that you're spending. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, well, I have a few seconds. Have you seen the new trucks that Buddies for Life have? Beautiful, beautiful trucks. Have you seen the trucks that Newcastle County has for their animal control? Now, I would never drive one of those trucks. I'd be afraid of being attacked by something. Anyway, thank you for taking care of Buddies for Life for $1 a month. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Matt Vandervoort.
Commissioners, council, my name is Matt Vandervoort. I live at 92 Kirk Road. I'm sure 2 years ago, some of you commissioners and you people remember me. I was the one that got the standing ovation. And in all respect to the lady that spoke up about constitutionality, I went to all the court meetings that for the commissioners, and you're trying to say what they did was illegal. I went to all the court hearings, and not a single judge said the commissioners broke the law. They all supported the commissioner's decision. The commissioners in this county and the people, the citizens of this county, are here to decide what's best for the county. The people elect the commissioners. The people here that pay the taxes and our residents here decide what's best for the county, and they elect the commissioners that are going to have the plan that they want. We are supposed to decide what goes on here. There's 250 houses, whether they're full-time resident or vacation, the people that pay taxes in Carpenter's Point. The money we spend in this county, the money we bring to this county by working here, and the taxes we pay, and the money we pay for materials and such to maintain our properties far exceeds what York brings to this county. They are mining over 8,000 acres of this county, and they have not reclamated the pits over in York. That's why they're not allowed to mine there. And they might try to argue and dispute it, but the reality and the bottom line, all legal stuff aside, what I'm saying is the reality of things. That property there should not be developed at all because of its proximity to the bay, and there are environmental issues that are coming up now to save the bay and to save our whole country. We need to stop putting things like this in proximity of the bay because there is going to be runoff. It's a runoff downhill. There are 10 spots, there are 3 creeks and 8 culverts that run off that property that collect rainwater that run over to properties across the road that don't belong to York and will be affected, you know, ecologically by the lack of water runoff that collectively, all the property there, it's not just 122, it's 608, it's almost 700 acres of undeveloped woodland. And your company, they have the right to do business and all that, but the bottom line is that we as the citizens of this county, we should have, our opinion should count for more than what I feel it does here. We as the group that Rita Reynolds mentioned, we went to talk to the lawyers that recommend, that are representing the commissioners, and basically I feel like what the other people here have said, that you're not going to go ahead and risk going to appellate court because of money. We pay that money, and the bottom line is the comprehensive plan is what the word says, a plan. Even the Constitution of the United States has to be amended to fix things. And the comprehensive plan should be, you know, it should stay northern agricultural residential, because in the end result, if they can get a mineral extraction overlay on heavy industrial or northern agricultural residential, it would be better for us in the end if they reclamate to NAR rather than heavy industrial. We really don't want another 20-acre warehouse like the ones across Route 40 over there, and we're supposed to be protecting the trees and the woods and the marshland. And what about the animals? I'm not a tree hugger. I'm not affiliated with any animal protection organization, but there's still the issue of where are the animals supposed to go? Well, we're just going to keep developing Cecil County. Where are the deer? Where are the animals supposed to go? Who's going to speak for them? They don't have any rights in this human society. You guys have to consider that. There's a lot of issues here that go past what the legal letter of the law says. And the legal letter of the law says that the commissioners can zone the way they did. I have a lot in the back of my house that's separate from my house, and it's zoned residential. If I want to go and cut down some trees and put a garage back there, and you say no, I'm not going to give you the zoning for it. If I have millions of dollars to fight you in court, can I win and get that garage? That's what it's coming down to. They're making lots of money. This is they proposed 2 lots that are about 60 acres each, 119 acres. I say it's this big in the big picture. It shouldn't happen because we should make the decision, not a company from out of state. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Kathy Rogers.
Hi, my name is Kathy Rogers, and I live at 143 Woodall Road. And I fell in love with this area of Cecil County, which is near this parcel 122, and decided to purchase my own in 2010. I had great respect for the council members' decision to change parcel number 122 to NAR, and I felt that the county government can truly protect the interest of the people of the community by making the right decision. However, it was disheartening to hear that the county was considering settlement with York Building Products, not because of the better of the community, but only due to the expense of the lawsuit. Why have we come this far in the first place? To only give into a large corporation because of money and not stand up for what was believed to be the best decision from the start. The decision to overturn the zoning from M2 to NAR was clearly made by the commissioners for the benefit of the people of the county and the environment. The community surrounding this parcel of land is a very vibrant and growing neighborhood located near the river, which leads to the bay. NAR zoning is the right zoning for this area. It shows beauty in the environment with an abundance of wildlife and has only brought positive attributes to the county. Making this parcel M2 again will only bring us back to square one, where we started, which is only going backwards. The commissioners showed the power to protect this interest, which was for the better. Now I'm feeling that the decision to settle is only due to a big corporation forcing the county up against a wall to settle for M2 because of expense, and not to stand up and fight for what was voted for correctly in the first place. If a large corporation such as York Building Products can force their desires in the county through money and the fear of how much it will cost in order to stop them, instead of showing some backbone and stand up for what is right, then what is the purpose of the county commissioners? Shame on York Building Products for not respecting the rights of the other owners of the properties and appealing the decision that was made by the commissioners. At this point, I feel they are the ones to blame for using up the taxpayers' money in order to benefit nobody else but York Building Products. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker,
Joe Carabetta.
Good evening, Joe Carabetta, 1611 Carpenter Point Road. First, I want to briefly talk about what transpired here 2 weeks ago in respect to the budget. With respect to sewer rates, I think it's a travesty, and I think it's an insult to the citizens that use the county system, and that out-of-county corporation come in here and get rates lowered for them, and the citizens are ignored, and we're paying, part of our fee increase is capital increase, or capital is going towards capital expenses for expanding the sewer plant for others' purposes. I think that's shameful, and I think it just shows what's going on in Washington, D.C., and what we're seeing. It's bleeding down here. And as a person that's been involved with politics for many years, I'm trying to make it good and honest, and it makes me sick what transpired. It's sickening. That's enough on that subject. Subject number 2, the rezoning. You have to look at the facts. The facts is the surrounding property to the south is NAR. The property to the southwest or west is NAR. The area is a sensitive area. We're faced with TMDL limits that this will undoubtedly affect, if you allow this to happen, in my prediction, and I'm gonna do, Johnny Carson here. Okay? My prediction is that the ink is being written or not is wet on their application for an MEB overlay. I think it's shameful that we've gone this far with this case. I have not seen the figures of how much money's been spent. I see how much is at possible risk if we go forward. I don't know how much money has been spent to this point. I'd like to know. I will find out. That now you're going to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. You have victory, and you're gonna snatch it right out of it. It's because it's very shameful. And anybody that hasn't been down there, I asked Councilman Bowlesby, maybe Councilman McCarthy, maybe you haven't been in that area. Come right now and look and see what's down there. It's not just some roadside. There's lovely mountain laurel bloom, and this is an asset to Cecil County. People come, and I see them driving on the weekends, come through. Now you're going to let us starve. You go out in the bay, go out in the Northeast River, and look to the north. What do we see? Like the hand of God came through and scooped out this barren land. Nothing there. Not even a dandelion growing. It needs to be, you have to save something for future generations. I don't have any children, but I still am passionate about this, that you cannot allow this to happen over nothing but pure greed. They have other acreages that are in other areas that are not as sensitive of an area that can be mined. And let's put another fact on the table. They took the risk coming in here looking for the upside. They wanted the upzoning so they can get more value out of the land. But you run the risk in a comprehensive rezoning of being downzoned. And that's what happened. And that's what's allowed under Article 66B. It happened. Now we're going to do, what was the famous saying the last couple of years? The do-over. Now we're going to have a do-over. That's what it sounds like to me. It's just unbelievable that we're even here talking about it. It should be a done deal. Finish the court case. Let's be done with it and see where it goes. I cannot see you have the right to do this, and that you're going to take this case that's gone this far and take it away from the citizens. The other fact that I think was brought up a little bit earlier, this property, they've been paying taxes on forest conservation. They pay almost nothing in taxes for over 100 acres of property. They pay very, very little tax. If you don't believe me, don't believe Joe Carabetta, look it up. Go and SDAT and look it up, and it says right on it, forest conservation. They're paying that next to nothing. So why should they benefit lower taxes and allowed to be come in here and rape the land for greed? There's nothing that upsets me more than greed, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Diane Carabetta, 1611 Carpenter's Point Road, Perryville, Maryland, Operations Research Analyst, MBA. Yes, and I live with Johnny Carson. It clearly appears to me that this is clearly a done deal. It's already gone to the court, gotten a court order signed by the judge. It's yet another done deal by what I call terrorist war. And Terry is a four-letter word that's not spoken in my home. She sold out Cecil County when she wrote against Senate Bill 236 and then sat in a legislative hearing in Annapolis in favor of Amendment 236, Senate Bill 236 with amendments. She sold out the Republicans of Cecil County when she took $45,000 of pass-through money from Congressman Harris, who ran through the Maryland Republican Party to send out an advertisement in her favor. She then switched to independent so she could name her own replacement on the board and control the Board of County Commissioners. She sold out the citizens of Cecil County with a $5.7 million tax increase. Many of the people speaking against that tonight were here supporting her the entire time. Now, in a redo, she is selling out the Board of County Commissioners, who had every right to do what they did.
And this is just one in a very, very long line of sellouts by Terrorist Moore. She sold out the sewer users by charging us to pay for the Route 40 infrastructure. She's selling out by other do-overs and her puppets, and I pray to God the people of Cecil County wake up in 2014 and take control back of the council. I'm sure that we've spent more than $30,000 to $45,000 to defend Terrorist Moore. And by the way, the county paid for the SPCA vehicles and they got to keep them. Buddies for Life has to turn them in. Regarding resolution 44201 about the Maryland Horse Park, are we paying the $49,000 for the grant? No, okay, that was a question I had because it said Horse Park in Maryland, not Cecil County. I'm laughing out loud about the mallard means nothing to Cecil County, but the baby tigers do. In the Bill 2013-06 regarding the flag and the seal of Cecil County. If you're going to take away our seal that we're all used to and love, and go, I would suggest you go with the baby tigers instead of the mean-looking animals depicted on the seal of the proposed seal. And yes, I do support, leaving on a high note, I do support the historic designation for Town Point School number 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Jackie Gregory.
Good evening, Council. Jackie Gregory, Elkin, Maryland. I have a few points I want to make tonight. First of all, I want to announce that the Cecil County Patriot Town Hall that was scheduled for this Thursday has been postponed to a later date, yet still to be determined. So that will not take place this Thursday evening. I also wanted to address some of the comments made earlier. We are a constitutional republic, not a democracy where the majority can strip the rights of the minority, as many are advocating here, which would be collectivism. And eventually the collective can turn on any individual in this room. Be careful what you wish for. The Constitution protects the minority from the collective. I also want to talk about comments that were made this morning during council member comment time. Councilwoman Brumell stated that the Patriots had called for closing down the libraries. If that is what you heard during the budget meeting, then you certainly weren't listening. A ridiculous claim like that only continues to erode your credibility. Citizens raised some questions about a 9.3 increase to the library budget, which was much larger than most other departmental budgets. And we questioned the need to build a new library costing taxpayers millions. At no time did I or any member of the Patriots suggest that any libraries close down or cut their services. For someone who claims to provide statements without the spin, your commentary on this issue this morning made me dizzy.
Next speaker, please. Does anyone else want to make any public comment?
My name is Glenn Davis. I'm a professional engineer. I live at 28 Laurel Road, right outside Carpenter's Point, and I'd like to continue on with Drew's presentation. The first one that you see here is the non-unloaded fuel sales and storage facilities. I am familiar with a lot of this information because I used to construct this kind of stuff as well and provide power to it. The next one would be a concrete and asphalt matching plants. Now, if you notice, you go up on in Delaware, on Salem Church Road, you have one of those facilities there. And at times, you get this nice little smell and smoke and everything when you're making the asphalt. The next one, if you don't mind, would be the storage yard and burning of junk. You can see that around in a number of places along 40. I'm not exactly sure that you want to see this along Carpenter's Point Road, per se. And then you can have petroleum products and recycling facility. That's the other one. It's pretty large. And then the next one will be the hazardous waste recycling. And then the hazardous waste incineration facility. If you go to your booklet on the purple tab, there are some examples of what Carpenter's Point, and this is for the commission, what Carpenter's Point Road looks like. If you go toward the end of that, you're going to see an aerial photo, and it's, I think, in red circle of what the facility is like from an aerial view. And what you don't see if you go down Mountain Hill Road and you follow that on the other side, you'll see the pits there. So if you want to look at what Carpenter's Point Road might look like if they extract the materials out of that, that may give you an example of what could happen. Anyway, I thank you for your time.
One last speaker in the back.
Good evening, Mayor and ladies. My name is Linda Jackson. I live on Mountain Hill Road in Perryville, which leads on to Carpenter's Point Road. And I am, let's see, the unfairness of these things. I kind of feel like how the Indians may have felt when you know, someone just came in and said, okay, I want this place. I built my house, and many of the houses in my area were built in 1973 and before. According to public record, York Building Products bought the land in 1999 for $750,000. I don't know if it's worth noting that Gary Stewart, who owns York Building Products, served on the Cecil County Comprehensive Board, and he lives in Pennsylvania. I don't know how that happened, but I mean, this is public record. And you know, I just think that's a little strange. This was for 2000, in the 2000 comprehensive thing. And of course, it doesn't take, it takes several years. Well, you get 10 years to do the comprehensive plan. This tract of land, I had heard, is the largest contiguous forest in Cecil County. It would be a shame to just plow it under. It's also the drainage area for the Northeast River and into the Chesapeake Bay, which would be grossly affected. Let's see. Oh, as far as all this is going to employ, you know, the employment opportunity here. I looked on records and I didn't see York Building Products in the top 10. I didn't even find it in the top 20 employers in Cecil County. And you know, I don't think that the, you know, super employment opportunity is there. It just annoys me that York's hubris, that, you know, they can just, you know, walk off the top of the residents that have been there because I bought the land. I want to do what I want to do with it without, you know, checking in. You're our last stalwart. you have to help. Because my house might just be, you know, I may not have water to drink. I may have to just, well, go down Route 7 and between Charlestown and Route 40 and look at where those 4 or 5 houses are in the Death Valley on the other side. I mean, it's just horrible. At least I think it's horrible. I guess that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment section of our meeting, and we'll move on to council member comments. Councilwoman Bowlesby, do you have any comments for tonight?
Nothing for tonight. I reported everything this morning.
Councilwoman Brunel, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'm just going to read my statement here. The county council was provided a list of benefits of settling the litigation from the county executive's office. The benefit, in their opinion, was that we wouldn't have to spend any more on legal costs. But what does that say about the comprehensive rezoning process? When an applicant requests a rezoning, they make their argument, but the community is also permitted to testify as to what is the correct zoning in this area for 2011. The Carpenters Point community, about 50 residents now, I've heard it was more like 100, took time out of their busy schedules to attend meetings, organize, prepare presentations on the merits, and in the end provided a strong argument for changing the parcel to NER. The judge which presided over this case gave every indication that Cecil County would win and that we were well within our authority in carrying out our decision.
I don't believe the county executive is proposing the settlement because we can save on legal costs. If that were the case, why did she change her party affiliation and create a lawsuit, which the county is still funding? Why didn't she suggest we stop the lawsuit with the town of Northeast when she was commissioner? I raised many concerns regarding that particular lawsuit, which we spent over $500,000 on and lost. I believe the county executive is supporting the settlement now because we are getting closer to the trial date and your building products anticipates that they will lose. As elected officials, we need to be very careful about those whose interests we are representing when we get elected. It definitely shouldn't be our own personal interests, or those who fund our campaigns. It should be in the best interests of all Cecil County citizens, and in this case, it should be in protecting the integrity of the comprehensive rezoning process. If there is anyone on this council board who received campaign funds from your building products, they should recuse themselves from this vote. Say that the Patriots are frauds. They are not a Tea Party group. This is an exception, and I'm not missing this opportunity.
Order, Mr. President.
And there's no election. And they are working at the special interests of Robert Hodge.
Okay, I have no comments because we're already late. We have a lot more to do. We're going to move on to special presentations. Is Stephanie Garrity still awake?
Did Mike Donner or McCarthy want to say anything?
No, they
They
passed.
said no, Diana. Didn't you listen or
Order.
watch their faces?
It's Diane, June. How many times have you heard my name?
Okay.
Oh, excuse
It's Diane.
me.
Ms. Garrity from the Cecil County Health Department has an update for us on the drone zone.
Mr. President, council members, it's way past my bedtime, so I'll definitely keep my comments brief. I have 5 informational items for you this evening, 3 handouts. I believe you have the handouts in front of you. And for the audience, we have copies of the handouts out at the front desk. The first handout is the Health Department's quarterly report from January through March of fiscal year 2013. I just wanted to highlight one brief item in the quarterly report, which is on page 2 at the bottom of the page, because I'm really not sure that the public is aware of some of the other things our Environmental Health Services Division does above wells and septic issues. We are also out regulating food service facilities throughout the county in compliance with state of Maryland regulation. And our sanitarians work very, very hard to make sure that the food that we eat in the facilities in this community is safe. Some additional information on page 3, specific to food service facility regulation and monitoring. Just a little bit of information for the public in terms of how often we're out in the community, monitoring the restaurants, educating the restaurant owners and staff about good, safe food practices. We don't look at our job as punitive per se. We look at our job as helpful educators and trainers. And I think, as you'll see in the information in the chart on page 3 under violations found, that out of the many facilities that we are monitoring for the quarter, that we had very few critical violations. And I'd like to think that that's because our staff works very, very hard with restaurant owners and staff to make sure that food is handled properly. The second informational item that I have this evening is another handout. I want to remind the public that on June 24th here in this room, from 3 to 5 p.m. and again from 6 to 8 p.m., We will be having some speakers that will begin to talk about the Affordable Care Act and how it's going to be implemented in Maryland and in Cecil County. I think both private citizens, those that may be uninsured or underinsured, and small business owners might find this very, very interesting. We want the public to be well informed in time for October 1st, when the Health Benefit Exchange will open up and begin to take applications. The third handout that I have is just for your information and for the public's information about our rabies vaccination clinic statistics to date and in comparison with years past. I think we'll continue to be on track with vaccinating more and more pets in the community, and I want to thank the public for recognizing that this is an important issue and bringing their pets forward for vaccination. The fourth brief item that I have, Summer is here, and I just want to let the community know that the health department is out at the public bathing